what is trauma and what is PTSD? People tend to think that negative events and violent events are the same thing as traumatic events, but they are not. So it is true that rape, violence, being beaten up by someone, and living a car accident, experiencing really dangerous situations, seeing the death, acknowledging the death of someone, are all horrible events that might lead, very likely, to trauma. But it is not always the case. So what is the difference between a negative event and a traumatic event? I'm here to explain it because it's very simple. Your reaction, so your ability to confront the event and to cope with that singular event, is the difference between trauma and non-trauma. And for example, we might think of a quite negative event. Someone screams at us, maybe a partner, maybe someone on the street, doesn't matter. But we are adults, okay? So it is negative. It makes us, anxious and nervous for quite a bit. Maybe we will think about that event during the day, throughout the day. But eventually we will forget about it. And that is because we have a reaction to that event. We could get angry, we could escape, we could just say fuck off, and we could even beat that person up. Well, that isn't the very best solution, but we could do that. So we have options as adults, as grown-ups. We have options against negative events. But the real difference is when you're a child and you experience an adult, a grown-up, maybe your parent, maybe your dad, maybe your mom, screaming at you because you've done something wrong and they can't cope with it without screaming. Well, if you experience that, you have not many options. You can't escape because that is your home. Where else would you go? You can't get angry because that might lead to more anger on the other side. You are just afraid. So that's the only option you have, being afraid. Or shut up, just shut up. But there are no other options. Maybe hide, but you will stay in the same situation for a bit. And that is what leads to trauma. The fact that we are not capable of coping with that situation. So it is quite simple. So if you can think of dramatic events during adulthood, so for example, rape is quite likely to lead to trauma because usually people who get raped are women, not always, but they are often women. They don't have the same strength as men, so that is a fact, and they can't cope with that. If someone is holding you and is raping you, you can't escape. And even if you are stronger than him or her, even if you have maybe the strength to react, they're probably, they probably have a knife or a gun or something. If they are doing that, they feel confident about doing that. So that is another situation which very likely might lead to trauma because you don't have the possibility to react, to escape, to do something about it, to scream for help. And so any situation you can think of might be traumatic or non-traumatic, depending on the fact that you feel like you have the power to do something. Another difference between trauma and normal situations, let's call them like that, is the memory. Usually, our memories are very flexible. If I have a good day, if I have an extraordinary good day, like my marriage day, or say my graduation, something that makes me really happy, I will cherish it and I will remember it throughout time. And I will tell the things I lived, I experienced to other people. But notice that every time you experience and you tell the people what you lived, those narratives tend to change over time. So you will never do the same narrative 2 times. And the same way, your memory is changing. Some things you will remember, some things will get a little bit, blurrier. Some other things you will completely invent them. So memory is not like a photograph. It's not that reliable. Memory changes over time. Normal memory. But if we talk about traumatic memory, well, that tends to be quite rigid, quite photographic. And people who had experienced trauma will tell you often that they tend to live to sometimes during the day, they tend to relive the same situation they lived 4, 5, 20 years ago in the same exact way they lived it 4, 5, 20 years ago. They will have the same feelings. They will feel the adrenaline through their body the same way they did when they got raped or, nearly got killed or whatever. So this is another thing that could tell you that you or someone lived trauma. The fact that their memories remain quite rigid and they tend to throw you in the same situation you lived years and years ago in the same exact way, with obviously a compromisation of all your abilities, of your cognitive abilities, of your narrative even, because people who relive those events are not able to do anything else in that moment. They are just petrified, they are just horrified, and they can't do anything. Or maybe they will scream and attack someone who is there, or just escape, They will do strange and impulsive things because they are like trapped animals in that moment. They don't feel anything else but what they felt 20 years ago. So this is a brief recap about trauma. I hope it wasn't too long. I hope it wasn't boring. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it is more than ever useful for you. I excuse myself if my English is not perfect. I am Italian, but I am a psychologist. I like to work in other languages, German and English, and I will try to, just send some pills of knowledge throughout the web, throughout YouTube, because I like to do that. If you need more information, if you would like to know more about trauma, contact me. Feel free to do it. My contacts are here below. And I work in Bologna, I work in Italy, but I also work throughout Skype. So if you would like to have a consultation, a session about these themes, feel free to contact me. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please share. Thank you.